Good evening and welcome to our next episode of Cooking with Michael. First, as always, I want to thank all of you who watched this past week. We did have a huge increase in viewership. That's just amazing to me. I'm so excited to see that. We also increased the number of subscribers a little bit, so that's good too. So those of you who watched and didn't subscribe, please go back and subscribe on the channel. Of course, as we always say, the more subscriptions, the more views, the more comments, the more we show up on people's feeds, and we can do more of this, which we are so excited to do. And that's what happened this week, actually. We showed up on some people's feeds, and we really had, just as I said, a great increase in viewership. So I'm just overly thrilled, and my team is excited to see it. Obviously, we're doing some things right. Please keep letting me know on things that we can improve on. We got some great comments last week on how to improve. So more of those will just make us better. This week we're so excited because we've actually changed our production format a little bit. We have some new lighting, which is going to help make things brighter, make it easier to see the food, and just make everything just so much more fun and for you as the viewer as well as for us shooting it. So I want to say thank you to everyone who's helped me do that. Thank you to all of you who have continued to watch and make this exciting and fun for us. So tonight, again, nothing unusual, a great date night episode, great date night dinner episode to go. What we're going to do is a pan-seared steak, and then we're going to have a side of asparagus. I will tell you, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on showing you how to do the asparagus. We've actually done asparagus prior. I'll tell you again quickly while I'm doing it what we do to make the asparagus, but we're not really going to show you a whole lot about that. I'm going to spend the time really showing you the pan-seared steak. Doesn't take a long time, doesn't take a lot of effort, but it does, when it's done, it'll make it look like you've been cooking for hours in the kitchen, which will make you look fantastic when you're serving to your date night, your loved one, your spouse. As always, I'm accompanied by my helper dog, Phoebe. I did get a couple of comments last week asking me to show more of Phoebe, our helper dog. And yeah, she's just kind of looking at me on the couch right now. So anyway, with all that said and done, we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, I'll begin to show you how we get the steak prepared for the pan-seared steak, and we'll go from there. So thank you again for watching, and let's have a great episode, everyone. We'll be right back. Just real quick, this is what the steaks look like from the butcher shop, as well as the asparagus and the ingredients we're going to use to make this wonderful pan-seared steak and date night dinner. Wanted you to see what it looks like before we start doing it. All right, and we're back. First, what I've done here is I pulled the steaks out. What I've done is I've gone to my butcher shop today, and I got them to cut me 2 New York strip steaks. Okay, you can see they're about 1 inch thick. Okay. And that's pretty much all you want to do is 1 inch thick. You can see a nice size here as well, okay? You want to make sure they are then room temperature. So when you bring them back from the butcher shop, or if you go to one of the regular grocery stores and get your meat, that's fine. I like the butcher shop because it's a little more fresh and I get kind of exactly what I want. But when you bring it back, leave it to sit for about 15-20 minutes out on the counter so you get the room temperature. That's going to be the key to the beginning of the searing. And then what you want to do is you want to take just a paper towel, okay, and you want to pat down the steak, okay? Make sure you get any of the moisture off the steak. You want to try and make it as dry as possible. The reason being is you're going to sear this on extremely high heat. And if you have any moisture on the outside, any excess moisture on the outside, it'll almost turn into a boiling of the steak, which changes the whole flavor and changes what you're trying to accomplish. Searing the steak on a high temperature will give you that dark, almost like burnt, but a dark seared look over top of the steak, and you're going to do it obviously on each side, okay? And, you know, there's a thing in cooking that says, you know, color is flavor. So, you know, don't be afraid that if it looks like it's burned, okay? Because it really isn't. You really want to get a nice, crisp covering on each side of the steak, okay? So I want to do that, get that out of there. And then, again, just the inside. Then you want to take, wipe off my hands a little bit. You want to go to Aldi. That's right, Aldi. And you want to get your olive oil, okay? Olive oil is going to be almost quintessential to this. I would not use any other oils. I wouldn't use a peanut oil. I wouldn't use vegetable oil or canola oil, sunflower seed oil, for one really important reason. And we've talked about this before. Olive oil, although can burn if you are frying it, when you're doing a seared, and we've used the oil in the skillet before, because you're doing it so fast, it's going to help make the steak sear better, but it's not going to allow it to really burn and ruin the flavor of the steak. So that's why we're going to coat the steaks with olive oil. You're going to coat the top, the underside, and the sides. You don't want it to be drenched in oil. You want it to be just covered in oil. So I'm just going to take my hand, okay, rub my hands together, and I'm going to rub the meat. Now, I'm sure every single one of you is laughing because not only did I talk about, the size of my meat, but now I'm going to oil it up and rub my meat. Yes, so all of you who are enjoying this, I'm glad I could bring some humor to you today. I was preparing and rehearsing this, and I had to tell you I was actually laughing hysterically while I was doing this. My wife kept looking at me going, "Did you just say you want to rub the meat with olive oil and you want to oil down an inch worth of meat?" I said something like that. So I did change the wording a little bit. But anyway, so I've done that one. I'll let it sit there for a minute. Now I'm going to do this one. Just a little bit more oil. All right. And again, you don't want it to be drenched. You want it to be covered. If you feel like you have too much oil on there, you can take a paper towel and wipe some of it off. But if you take it and you just, again, I'm going to do this. Yes, this is happening. You can rub it in harder and deeper into the meat and onto the sides as well. I just can't get away from this. I'm literally, I'm trying not to laugh like a third grader right now, but I'm sure some of my people who are watching this are probably losing it as we speak, which is fine. So anyway, so there I got my steaks. They are well oiled. I'm going to take a quick moment, and I'm going to wash my oil off my hands, and I'm going to go to the next step, and that'll be the seasoning of it. So we'll be right back. So hold on a minute, and we'll see you in just a minute. All right, we're back. First things first, of course, I want to recognize Andrew, our wine guy. Which way are we going? There we go. I swear I haven't started drinking. Well, okay, a little bit. But I want to recognize Andrew, our wine guy from Chapel Beer and Wine, who supplies us with our Dark Horse Pinot Grigio. So thank you again, Andrew. I'm going to take my sip of my Pinot Grigio. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, hold on. I got to have another sip. Yeah, I just can't get over that. Okay. All right. Next, I'm going to do the seasoning. What I want to do first before I do that is kind of show you what we're going to do before I actually show you how we do it. We're going to use two seasonings on this. We're going to use sea salt. We're just going to use a sea salt grinder, as I typically do whenever I'm salting the stuff that you see. Okay. Occasionally, I get it from a box, and I sprinkle it on whatnot. We're going to use the grinder this time. But we're also going to use a peppercorn grinder. I do use that a lot, and I'm sure if you've watched my videos, of course, thank you for watching, but you've seen me use the peppercorn grinder. But you've also seen me use that fine ground up pepper as well. In this case, we want to make sure we use the peppercorn grinder, and again, it's from Aldi. All right. Again, as I said last week, either Aldi's going to sponsor me or they're going to have a cease and desist. I'm still looking for the sponsoring. But anyway, so the reason we use the peppermill grinder is because in this case you want to taste the peppercorns. If you use the ground up real fine pepper, you may taste the pepper, but it's not going to give you the same texture, the same taste as the grinder. The grinder is going to take each peppercorn and probably crack it to maybe 3 to 5 pieces as opposed to the fine, which is really ground down. Okay? And you want to be able to almost, when you bite into it, have that crunchy taste of the peppercorn. So that's why we're going to do it that way. Okay? So once we do that, we're going to do both sides, and then we'll go to the next step. So let me get this ready, prepared, and then we'll go from there. So sit back. We'll be right back. All right, and we're back. You can see the steaks are ready. They are almost glistening a little bit because of the oil, and that's fine. That's good. It's exactly what we want to do. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the salt, and again, like I said, we're going to use a sea salt grinder. Typically, we use to taste and know your audience and make sure you're not over salting, what have you. But in this case, we want to make sure we coat both sides, and the reason being the searing will cook off some of that, but it's also going to help pull the flavor of the steak out and make sure the flavor of the salt and pepper is there as well. So we're going to take this, and then we're going to take this and do it both sides. So you're going to see we're going to just basically coat both sides. Okay? Then I'm going to take my peppercorn grinder, and we're going to basically grind the pepper over. You can see the bigger pieces of peppercorn, and that's what you want. You do not want the coarse. I'm sorry, you do not want the fine. You want the coarse in there. So you can see we're doing it over both. And again, we've only done the one side. And what we'll do after that, now that it's nicely coated on both, is we're just going to flip this over. And we're going to flip this over. And we're going to do the same with this side as well. Okay? Because again, you're going to sear it on both sides. So you want it seasoned on both sides. Okay? So there's that. And again, you can see where the flavor or the peppercorn is really coating the top, and it's bigger pieces than if you were using the really finely ground pepper. So that's what it looks like when it's ready to go. So I'm going to stop here. We're going to pull the pan up. But real quick, I'm going to tell you how to do the asparagus while I'm doing that. But I'll pull the pan up, and then we'll go to the next step. So sit tight, and we'll be back in just a moment. All right, and we're back. First things first. Oh, there went Phoebe, our helper dog, and she just kind of scooted out of there. So I did get, as I said, a couple of texts last week asking me to make sure that we include more of Phoebe, but she's been kind of hiding today. Yeah, she's been kind of hiding today, so that's okay. So what we're going to do is, next thing we're going to do is we're going to show how we sear the actual steak and the real quick time frames that's going to be. But real quick, first thing I want to do is just talk about the asparagus. Asparagus, we're going to put in a steamer. We're going to, what is she doing in there? Oh, she's laying down again. Okay. She's kind of walking around and laying down, but we're going to basically put it into a steamer and steam it for a couple of minutes until, again, when you steam vegetables, the color they are in nature, when they're bright, that color, they're done. So asparagus is green. When it's a bright green, it's done. We're going to use our steamer. So I've already put it in there, already getting ready to steam. It just takes a few minutes to do. Fill the bottom part with the water. I did put a teaspoon of, hi Phoebe, a teaspoon of garlic in there, minced garlic in there, just to add a little bit of flavor to the steam as it's coming through. So real easy, real simple, takes a couple minutes, and then the steaming of the asparagus is done. So, hey look, I think she's coming back in here. Let's see if I can get a good idea. There she is. There's our helper dog, Phoebe. So, all right. So now what we're going to do is we are going to actually cook the steak. So hold tight. We'll be right back. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on my skillet. To sear steak well, you really should use the cast iron skillet, the black cast iron skillets. I don't have one of those. Who knows? Maybe. Hi. Maybe Santa will bring me one. So any of my subscribers out there want to send me a black cast iron skillet? I'm done. All right, so we're going to put this back here. All right, so to make this work right, you're going to turn this on about 7.5. Again, as we found out last week, this does heat up really, really quickly and heats up very, very hot. So we're going to let it sit there. You're not going to put any oil in here, okay? Do not put any oil in the bottom of the pan, okay? Because when it's very hot, the oil that you have put on the meat is going to be enough oil you want. Because again, you don't want, for a couple things, again, you don't want it to turn into boiling. The oil that you put on the meat is not a marinade, so it's not supposed to give it flavor. It's really supposed to help the searing process. The flavoring comes from the salt and pepper that we did. And just real quick, looking at my steaming of my asparagus, it's almost done, so I'm going to turn that off here in a second. But as this is heating up, when this gets to be a really, really hot, then we'll put one in at a time. And you take 2 minutes on either side. No more than 2 minutes. Yeah, let me do this real quick. Let me turn my light back on. Hi, how you doing? All right. So again, no more than 2 minutes on either side, and that's it. With the skillet being hot enough, with the oil and the seasonings, it's going to do just fine. About an inch thick will give you a nice rare to medium rare. If you want to cook it longer, you can. I will tell you though that searing it and trying to cook it longer, all you're really going to do is burn. And again, we did talk about color is flavor, and that's true to a point, but you can get to the point where you can actually overcook the outside where it's tough and the inside is undercooked. So it's really going to, it's almost a dance this time to make sure you get it. So you really want 2 minutes on either side, and that's it. Do not take the temptation, as I have that problem too, to try and lift it up to see what it looks like while it's doing the searing. The whole idea is to let it go and do its thing for the 2 full minutes. So I'm going to reach over and turn off my steamer. Steamer is done. The asparagus is done. That's good. Well, the pan is still heating up. So again, you just want to make sure that you sear it on a very, very high temperature for just those 2 minutes. Any longer, and you run the risk of really getting a tough, hard skin on the outside, and it's not really going to do a whole lot to the inside. It's going to be underdone, and it's just going to ruin the steak. So 2 minutes each side will do just fine. I know I've said that about a half a dozen times, but kind of want to try and stress that. So go ahead and put this back down. Oh, wait. Hi, Phoebe. All right. So those of you, by the way, who texted me and said you want to see more of the dog, hopefully I did give you enough dog time today. So, okay. So let's go ahead and show you how we're going to sear this. So, all right. So we're going to check to see if that's hot. As you know, as I said, this does heat up. So it does start to sizzle, so it's almost done. What we're going to do is we are going to let it go just another minute or so, maybe turn up just a little bit higher to get it going here. And then we'll go ahead and put one on at a time. And you're really going to do one at a time. If you have a big enough skillet or the steaks happen to be small enough, you can put them side by side on there. The one problem you have to be careful of is that they're not touching or not close enough to where you do get some of the water coming off while it's searing and then, again, beginning to boil. So one at a time. Again, it's only a couple minutes each side, so it's not like one's going to get cold while you're doing the other. So it really does work out perfectly. So let me see how this is doing. It's actually not quite done yet. So I'm going to actually pause us, and we'll come right back when it's fully heated up. And, of course, this is a great time to drink more Pinot Grigio. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to take one last attempt at this. Let me get one last attempt at this and see. I think we're good. So we're going to reach over, and I'm going to take my steak, my first one, and I'm going to put it on there. And again, 2 minutes. So, best thing you can do, set a timer. And we're going to sear that for 2 minutes. While that's searing, and again, we'll wait for the 2 minutes, and then we'll flip it over. So I'm going to pause this again. All right, we've got about 20 seconds to go before we flip it over. As you can see, it is smoking pretty good, which is what it's supposed to do. And actually, again, I've talked about this a million times. If I had smell a camera, you'd be able to smell just an amazing smell of the steak with the salt and the pepper all mixed together. So, well, hey, there's my timer. So I'm going to go ahead, and you can see at this point, after the 2 minutes of searing, just to say it's going to flip over nicely, but there we go. All right. So, oh, hush, baby. So now we're going to put it on the 2 minutes for this side. When this is done, then we'll take that out, we'll test it, and show you what it's like. So, BB hush. So we're going to go ahead and pause this real quick. All right, we got about 20 seconds or so to go before this one is done. I'm going to get my plate ready, and I'm going to pull out this steak. While we're testing this steak, I'm going to put the other steak on and get that one going as well. So, and then we'll be able to really see what it all tastes like. And as that'll take, while I'm tasting it, we'll get a good idea of what that one that one will get cooking as well. So, I swear I've not had that much Pinot Grigio. Enough, but not enough. Okay, there we go. So that's done. So I'm going to go ahead and go ahead and turn the timer off. And I'm going to reach in. Move that off to the side real quick. Show you what the steak looks like. As you can see, it's nice and seared. So I'm going to put that aside for just a second while I get the other steak on there for the 2 minutes. So put that pan right back on there. Get that cooking. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of my asparagus. And I'm going to cut. No need to season this again. You can see nice and medium rare on the inside. Okay. Perfectly cooked there. So let's go ahead and turn this up. All right. Hi there. Oh, forgot to set timer, so I'll set it for 1 minute here. All right. So now I've got my steak. Amazingly done. Take a bite of the asparagus. And that little bit of garlic flavor that I put in the boiling water for the steamer makes all the difference. So that's how you do it. That is our steak. That is our pan-seared steak with our asparagus. So that's it. Real quick, real easy. 2 minutes each side. Total prep time takes a little less than 10 minutes. So really what you got is basically a, what is that, 15-minute dinner in order to make for your loved one if you want to do two of them, for one for you, one for her, one for you, one for your date night, your spouse, your significant other. What you have now is you've got another 4 minutes, 2 on each side. So really you've got literally, oh, that's time to flip this one over. What you've got is a great and quick date night dinner. There we go, flip that one over. Okay, what you got is a quick date night dinner that gives you a lot of time to be able to have that extra special conversation with your loved one, your spouse, your date night. So, again, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. I hope you watch more. If you haven't watched our other episodes, please watch those. Please subscribe and tell all your friends and family too. So, and have them subscribe. As always, we'll see you next Saturday, 8 o'clock, for our next Cooking with Michael episode. Again, thank you so much for watching. For all of my folks that have been helping me with all of this, again, thank you. We're so excited. It has been a great, great episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And we'll see you next time, next Saturday, 8 p.m., right here on Cooking with Michael. Thank you so much. Have a great night.